The world's great novels. Sometimes virtue starves while vice is fed. How then is the reward of virtue bred? The NBC University of the Air brings you the third installment of William Thackeray's penetrating novel of early 19th century British society, Vanity Fair, another of its new series of books that live, the world's great novels. Last week at this hour, we were witness to the scenes in Brussels when Napoleon's armies were steadily advancing and the city was crowded with fashionable spectators from London, some of whom had come to occupy box seats at the unfolding drama of which Waterloo was to be the climax. There we took leave of Becky Sharp, sitting in her room and figuring just what her status in the world of Vanity Fair would be if her husband, Rawdon Crawley, should fail to return from that battle. The author himself appears now to continue the career of our clever little adventuress.
We do not claim to rank among the military novelists. Our place is with the non-combatants. When the decks are cleared for action, dear listener, we go below and meekly wait. Therefore, we shall leave Captain Rawdon Crawley to do his duty and come back to his wife. It is the next day. Napoleon's army hammers the road to Brussels, while, pink and smiling, our Becky hastens to visit her friend, Amelia Sedley. Amelia is indisposed, but her brother, Joseph Sedley, is not.
Do come in, Mrs. Crawley, and sit you down.
Mr. Joseph, how relieved I am to find you here. Heaven has left you, I'm sure, to protect us poor ladies.
Upon my word, madam, perhaps it has.
But what is this? You're wearing your military coat. Oh, Mr. Joseph.
My patriotism overcame me, madam. I brought the coat out to do honor to our gallant troops.
Oh, Mr. Joseph, I entreat you not to fly from us.
Alas, madam, my duty keeps me here. I cannot leave that poor creature in the next room.
Good, noble brother. How is our dear Amelia? The parting with Captain Osborne must have been an awful, awful blow.
Tremendous.
I bleed for her.
Joseph?
Oh.
Joseph, who is with you?
She's awakened. The doctor gave her a sleeping powder.
Joseph, who are you talking?
Oh, it's you, my dear, dear Amelia. Why are you here, Rebecca? I came to see if you were well, dear Amelia.
You look well, Becky. But of course, you would. You don't love your husband.
Amelia! The poor girl must be out of her head.
No, Becky, I'm quite sane. I see everything very clearly now. Tell me, Becky, did I ever do you anything but kindness?
No, Amelia, no.
When you were poor, who befriended you?
You, Amelia?
Then why did you try to come between George and me? You knew his love was all I had.
Amelia, before heaven I protest, I have done you no wrong.
But you tried. It was only because George is noble and pure.
Amelia, dearest, you're unwell.
I prayed so hard that he would come back to me.
I entreat you, Amelia.
And he came back. Before he left, he sat there on that sofa. No, don't you touch it. His arms were around my neck. Then they came for him and took him away. But he promised to come back. To me, Rebecca. Not to you.
I can stand no more of this. I must leave you, Amelia, until you've recovered all this.
Go, Becky. I never want to see you again. Oh, George's sash. Isn't it a pretty color?
What is it?
Is Joseph Sedley, ma'am?
Oh, just a moment. Pray, what is it, Mr. Joseph?
The French, ma'am. They've cut the 9th Regiment in two. They'll be in Brussels next. We must fly.
Why should I fly? I've heard the French are very gallant. Why would they harm a poor officer's widow?
Widow, ma'am?
I mean wife.
Madam, the French are beasts, I tell you. We must fly.
And how do you plan to fly, Mr. Joseph? I've heard that there are no horses to be had in Brussels. Everyone wants horses.
Oh, indeed, it's true.
Well, then how?
Mrs. Crawley, madam, I've been told that you have horses.
You mean dear Captain Crawley's horses?
I thought you might be willing to sell.
Sell my husband's horses? Perish the thought, Mr. Sedley. I would as soon think of selling myself.
I'd give you £50 for the grey mare.
Never, Mr. Joseph, never. Those horses are all I have to remind me of Captain Crawley. Besides, I will sell both or neither.
But I only need one, madam.
Both or neither, Mr. Sedley.
Have you no heart, madam?
Both or neither.
Then let it be both. I'll give you £100 for the pair.
Lady Baracres has already offered me 200.
Then 250.
Captain Crawley himself told me not to take less than 3.
Then 3 it is.
Oh, no. I have no intention of letting them go for less than 4.
£400? Why, it's highway robbery.
£400, Mr. Joseph. They're the only horses left in Brussels.
Then 400 it is.
In advance.
Yes. Here you are, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Where are the horses?
In the stable.
Good.
You know, of course, they're not carriage horses.
Not... But how...
You'd have to ride the grey mare and lead the other.
Oh, but is she gentle?
As gentle as a lamb and as fast as a hare.
Do you think she's up to my weight?
Well, she's not an elephant, Mr. Joseph. But I think she'll hold you up.
Oh, cannon, madam, cannon! The French are on top of us. I must fly.
What a gallant retreat you will make from Brussels, Mr. Sedley. What a gallant retreat.
Thank you.
And what a nice little nest egg I shall have if Rawdon drops.
Amelia!
Yes, Joseph?
I've got horses for us. Don't ask me what price. That woman, that vampire. Oh, we must get ready to fly.
I'm not going with you, Joseph.
Not going? You're mad.
I told George I would wait for him here.
But Brussels may fall at any moment. You'll be butchered by the French.
Nevertheless, here I shall stay.
One last time, I entreat you.
No, Joseph.
That I am forced to leave you behind.
Goodbye, Joseph.
Goodbye, dear sister. May heaven preserve you. I beg your pardon, Mrs. Osborne. Out of my way, John. The French are coming. I must fly.
What did you wish, John?
They're beginning to bring the wounded back from the front, ma'am.
Oh, yes, I know. All morning I've watched the long trains of wagons.
There's a young man outside, ma'am. Shot in the leg he was. He wants to know if you would take him in.
Why, of course.
He says all the hotels and lodgings are full of dead and dying.
Show him in at once, John.
Yes, ma'am. You can come in, sir.
Thank you. I hate to trouble you, ma'am.
Oh, you poor boy. Your leg, it's bleeding.
I'm lucky to be here at all, ma'am.
Oh, lie there on the couch. John will make up a bed for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, this fighting. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. But we'll have old Boney on the run yet. The Duke's remarshalling his forces for a counterattack. Near Waterloo, it is.
I never heard of the place.
You will, ma'am. You will.
What was your regiment, soldier?
The 9th, ma'am.
You wouldn't know. Oh, no, that's silly to ask.
Now, I might just happen to know someone you know, ma'am.
The name's Osborne. George Osborne.
Osborne? Why, ma'am, he was my captain.
Oh, soldier, God sent you to me. I know he has, to bring me news of George. When did you see him last?
This morning, ma'am.
How was he, soldier?
Before God, ma'am, I wish I'd never come here.
Soldier, what is it?
Why should I have to be the one to tell you?
To tell me, soldier?
That I left Captain Osborne lying with the foot.
No, don't say it. Let me believe for just a little longer that George will come back to me.
Every schoolboy knows the story of how the tide turned for the English that day. And now, gentle listener, with a novelist's license, let us project ourselves forward in time to a day 3 years after that great battle, to a day in May, all innocent with the English spring. A tall, thin man in a major's uniform stands on the steps of a London cathedral. Inside, a memorial service has just been concluded. A stooped old man comes out of the church, and the major advances to speak to him.
Mr. Osborne?
Major Dobbin. Been many a day since I set eyes on you.
I read in the paper about the memorial service for George, but I got here too late.
Too bad. It was all done in the best fashion. Cost me a pretty penny, that stained glass window. Even the Duke's son ain't got a finer one.
No doubt.
It's sweet to die for your native land. That's what I had put under the window. Pretty saying, ain't it?
Very pretty, sir. Especially if it's someone else who's done the dying.
What's that you saying?
Forget it, sir. I came here today, Mr. Osborne, as George's oldest friend. I thought perhaps this sad occasion might have softened your heart toward his widow.
Don't speak her name to me, Dobbin. I warn you. For me, she don't exist.
For George's sake, sir.
George or no George. It was a beggar marriage and never should have been.
Amelia's living in abject poverty, sir, but she wants nothing from you, sir, for herself.
Then why have you come a-begging?
She is willing to accept help for George's child.
Child? There was a child, Dobbin?
A boy, sir. He bears George's name, and yours.
A boy? A grandson? Young Georgie Osborne. That puts a little different light on things, Major.
I thought it would, sir. Now, if you'd make Amelia a small allowance...
No, Dobbin, no. I ain't having any grandson of mine brought up by them pauper settlers. You tell the child's mother that if she'll turn the boy over to me, renounce all claim to him, I'll bring him up like a gentleman.
Mr. Osborne, you don't know what you're saying. Even you couldn't propose separating a mother from her child.
Those are my terms, Dobbin. She gives me the boy or she don't get a penny.
Amelia will never agree to that, sir.
She can take it or leave it. I hold the money bags, I make the terms. Who says money ain't power, Dobbin?
That was what he said, Amelia. But I told him you'd never agree to give Georgie up.
But I think I can agree, William.
Amelia?
Since that last time when Georgie was sick and I wasn't able to buy even the medicine he needed. Yes, William. I know now I can do anything that's for his good.
Amelia, my dear, I know I have no right, but if you would let me help you, I'm being sent to India. You and Georgie could come.
No, William, no. Don't you know that George is as much alive for me today as he was when he took me in his arms at Brussels and said goodbye?
I see. Then you mean you will give the boy up?
I think George would want me to. He'd want his son to be a gentleman.
But think of yourself, Amelia, your happiness.
There is none for me, William. There never can be.
That's not true, Amelia.
All the happiness went out of the world for me when George rode off to Waterloo.
Amelia.
Can't you understand how it's possible through a whole lifetime to love but one person?
Yes, Amelia, I understand. Perhaps better than you know.
And now, dear listener, let us turn our eyes away from Amelia's sad parting with her child and journey across London to a smart little house on Curzon Street, Mayfair, where we will look in upon another mother and child.
Now see what you've done, you little brat. You've torn the lace on my new gown. There's that. Sit down. Take him away, nurse. My nerves won't stand it. Take him away.
Becky, I wish you'd try to be fonder of the little fellow.
I'm afraid I'm not fond of any man, Rawdon, until he's 20 years old or better.
Well, I'll be getting along to the club, my dear. Mustn't keep old Blinker waiting.
Rawdon, dear, I wish you could realize that gambling is good to help your income, but not an income in itself.
Yes, I know. I should never have resigned my commission.
We had the money from the horses, and we felt sure that any minute your Aunt Matilda would die.
And then the old shrew does pop off and leaves our money to Brother Pitt when he's already married himself a fortune.
Money begets money. Your aunt was really an awful snob, in spite of her Republican pretensions. How she did dote on Pitt's wife, the Lady Jane Sheepshanks.
Curse my whole blasted family. Even my own father dies and leaves me not a cent.
There was precious little to leave after his last housekeeper got through with him. Besides, you had yours when you came of age. As if any man ever came of age.
You laugh, but I'm afraid to stick my nose out of doors for fear of being dunned. Becky, somehow our luck has got to change.
Poor boy. Don't worry. I'll change our luck. Give me a kiss now and run along to your club.
Will you be lonely, Becky?
Of course not.
That's what I was afraid of. You're having company?
Yes, I expect a visitor.
Becky, I don't like to mention it, but he's here so often. Won't people talk?
If you're afraid for me, dear Rawdon, why don't you get me a sheepdog for protection? How good of you to come, Lord Stane. Forgive me for keeping you waiting. I was in the kitchen making a pudding.
Little liar. When were you ever in the kitchen? I heard you in the room overhead, where no doubt you were improving on nature with a little paint.
Is it a crime to try to look my best when you come, my lord?
I'm immensely flattered. I only wish you'd give some of your rouge to Milady Stane. Her complexion's quite preposterous.
I've never met your wife, you know.
No.
I should like to.
You're bent on getting on in society, aren't you?
Is it so wrong to want a small place in the world?
All you women are alike. Everybody's striving for what's not worth having. You'll give me no rest until you have an invitation to my wife's at home. And yet you'll be as bored with her as I am.
Oh, no.
My wife's as gay as Lady Macbeth. My daughter's as cheerful as Regan and Goneril.
You can't put me off. Do I get the invitation?
I shall see what I can do. But I warn you, Becky, it's not half so nice at my house as here.
This is a cozy little house. It's too bad we shall have to move.
Move?
Our rent's 6 months overdue. They're threatening to put us out.
How much do you owe?
Only £200.
£200?
It's quite a lot. But still, it is such a cozy little house.
I'll have my brokers send a check tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, my lord. You're so kind. Just like a father.
I'm afraid I don't feel at all like a father.
Rawdon is beginning to worry about the conventions. He talked tonight of buying me a sheepdog.
A sheepdog?
Yes. But don't worry. I'll see that the dog is trained not to bite you.
Even if a woman does not lead a virtuous life, she likes to enjoy a reputation for virtue. And no lady in the genteel world can enjoy this reputation until she has gone through a certain ritual. Just as dubious goods or letters are passed through an oven at quarantine, sprinkled with aromatic vinegar, and then pronounced clean, so many a lady whose reputation would be doubtful and liable to give infection passes through this ceremony and issues from it free from taint. Yes. Well, it was to gain admission to this mystic rite that our Becky now bent all her energy and talents.
I must say, Becky, I don't look forward to this weekend. Visiting with Brother Pitt is about as jolly as visiting a mausoleum.
I know. There's nothing like an income invested at 3% to make one dull. But how I envy the 3%ers.
Why must you drag us to Queen's Crawley? These horses there and back will cost us £5 at least.
The visit will be worth more than £5. You'll see. Your brother and his egg-faced wife can do us good. How do I look, Rawdon?
Eh? You look very odd, by Jove. Your hair pulled down so sleek. Upon my word, you look quite domestic.
Good. I mean to. I shall trail the odor of the nursery about with me all weekend. Milk and talc powder, you know. Lady Jane will love me.
What about Brother Pitt?
Don't worry. I've brought along some Paris scent to use on him. What I'd like best of all, Lady Jane, is to visit the nursery and peep at your dear little children. You won't mind, will you, Lady Jane, if I bring out my knitting? I'm making my little boy a cap and sweater. I was saying to Rawdon today, Sir Pitt, how fortunate that you inherited Aunt Matilda's money. You'll make so much better use of it than he. Your pamphlet on Maud? But of course I remember it, Sir Pitt.
Am I glad that weekend is over?
I quite enjoyed myself, and it's been most profitable.
Profitable? I suppose so. Brother Pitt lent me £20.
£20? What's £20? Did you think I went for that?
What did you go for, Becky?
To charm your brother and his wife into getting me presented at court?
Presented at court? Ye gods, Becky, how can we afford it? We haven't a shilling's worth of credit. You'll need a court dress, jewels.
I shall manage that, too.
So you're going to be presented at court, eh?
Yes, Lord Stane.
What an ambition. I dined with the king yesterday, and we had neck of mutton and turnips.
Don't try to shatter my illusion. All my life I've dreamed of this moment. Even as a schoolgirl, I would imagine myself gliding up to the royal prison, then turning, and with a glance, crushing all my enemies.
Your triumph, Becky. How much is it going to cost me?
At last, the great day arrives. But how can we describe Becky's stately entrance into the throne room? Words fail us. Our dazzled eyes close before the scene.
Knight of the Tape and Sealing Wax Office, Lady Jane Crawley, Captain Rawdon Crawley of the Life Guards Green, Mrs. Rawdon Crawley.
Yes, dear listener, there upon the throne he sits, surrounded by beefeaters. The king, florid of face, portly of person, covered with orders, and wearing a rich curling head of hair. The king. Others have seen Napoleon. Some few have beheld Frederick the Great, Dr. Johnson, Marie Antoinette. But let it be our Becky's reasonable boast that her hand has touched that of George the Good, the Magnificent, the Great. No matter what else is in store for her, fate cannot deprive her of that.
Oh, my dear, dear Rawdon. I was never so happy. To think he has touched my hand. I shall never wash it again. Oh, there's Lord Tapeworm, Rawdon. Lord of the Powder Closet. How'd you do, Lord Tapeworm?
Becky, our carriage is waiting. I'll put you in. Then if you don't mind, I'll walk along home.
Walk home? Why?
I need some air.
No, there's something on your mind. I know it. I can always tell when you're trying to think. You look so strange.
It's nothing, Becky, nothing.
I know there is. All evening you seem so strange.
Becky, tell me, where did you get those jewels?
Jewels? You mean these little diamonds? Why, they belong to my mother. She was a Momorazza, you know.
Your mother was a French dancing girl, and you know I know it. But never mind the jewels. You'll have to pawn them tomorrow anyway.
Rawdon, what do you mean?
I am at the end of my row, Becky. My luck's run out. They're after me like hounds. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I don't know where to turn.
Rawdon, how could you be so mean? Spoiling my night of all nights. Well, I won't let you, I tell you. Whatever I've done with the gate tradesmen, the cooks and wheedles, I've been presented at court, haven't I?
Yes, little Becky. You've had your wish. Here's the coach. Coachman.
Aye, sir.
Take Mrs. Crawley home. And you'd better hurry, Becky, before your coach turns into a pumpkin. All right, in you go.
Get up! Get up there!
Captain Crawley. Captain Crawley, sir.
Yes, what is it? Oh, no, you don't. Let go my arm.
Easy does it, Captain Crawley, sir. No use bolting. I have a writ for your arrest.
Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray, one of the world's great novels, brought to you each week by the NBC University of the Air. Listen next week to the concluding episode from Vanity Fair, and remember that this and many other fine books are to be had in your local public library. To enhance your enjoyment of these broadcasts, NBC offers you Herbert Gorman's Handbook of the World's Great Novels. Just send 25 cents with your request to World's Great Novels, Post Office Box 30, Station J, New York 27, New York. Vanity Fair is adapted for radio by Frank and Virginia Wells. The music was composed by Morris Pomorsky, and the orchestra was directed by Bernard Berquist. The entire production was under the direction of Homer Heck. Becky Sharp is played by Nanette Sargent, Amelia by Geraldine Kay, Rawdon by Boris Applin, Old Osborne by Arthur Sedgwick, Major Dobbin by Everett Clark, Lord Stain by Maurice D. Copeland, Thackeray by Sherman Marks, and Joseph by Arthur Peterson. Others were Rita Ascott, Nathan Davis, Cliff Norton, and Tom Post. This is David Garraway. The program came to you from Chicago. The time to think about your future is now, and think of it in terms of United States savings bonds. U.S. savings bonds are a long-term investment that'll make a home of your own and a college education for the children a reality someday. Protect your future. Buy your extra U.S. savings bonds today and keep on buying them. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.